Welcome to Q&A Thursday. I am your coach, Tandar. Let's begin. My boyfriend and I are from two very different backgrounds and cultures. Initially, when we met 2 years ago, our differences were great, but they turned into barriers and problems. How can we find a middle ground when the problem is so deeply rooted in our backgrounds? It's very understandable that when people get together from two different cultures, they have to not only get to know each other fresh from the very start, they also need to get to know the other person's culture as well. And with that, I have some good tips that hopefully will get you back on track with your relationship. Tip number 1, own your own. When you're an individual in a relationship, a lot of people lose sense of themselves. They're so in love that they want to get to know the other person. They want to immerse themselves in the other person's world. So a lot of stuff becomes about the other person. And a lot of people lose the sense of themselves, lose touch with their own identity, lose touch with their own background, lose touch with their own culture, not because they want to, but because they are in love, they're so infatuated and so interested in the other person that all they want to do is get to know the other person. There is a problem that comes with that later on, is that if you don't keep going back and checking in with yourself and with your own roots and in your own background, you're going to think that these are cultural issues, are the background issues, whereas it could be just that you need to hang on to your own individuality rather than thinking that you have to just throw everything away and become exactly like the other person and their culture, follow their culture and their tradition so this relationship can work. And that's not the case. Number 2, education is key. Education is not about just educating the other person about what you're all about and where you're coming from. Education is educating yourself about their culture, about who they are, where they come from, where are the traditions, where's the culture. And you have to be careful with that because you don't want to generalize either. Educating yourself while keeping the lines of communication open. So if it's somewhere that you may have a question, you can open the lines of communication with your partner and ask them if that is true or not. So you have to educate yourself and not just rely on the other person to tell you how it is in their own culture. Which brings us to number 3. Do not generalize. The person you're dating does not represent a country or an entire culture. They have their own specifications, they have their own thoughts, their own opinion about so many matters, and you do not want to stereotype. For example, if someone knows an Iranian person that have very strict parents, they turn around to me and say, "Oh, you're Iranian? Oh, I heard you guys have very strict rules, your parents are really tight on you," which in my case, it's far from the truth. So you do not want to do that in a relationship with your partner. You want to make sure you do not generalize. You have questions? Open the line of communication. In any relationship, no matter what background, what culture, you have a question, you ask it. You don't go around it assuming that the other person knows. You ask it directly and in a kind way with a kind intention behind it, and you'll get the answer that you need. And that brings us to the final point. Tip number 4, learn to compromise. This is where forgiveness, kindness, compassion all comes handy. And I doubt the reason you two started a relationship was because you wanted to bring the two countries together or the two cultures together. It was about two individuals finding passion, chemistry, connection, attraction in each other. That's what it brought you together in the first place. And as the relationship has progressed, you may think this is stemming from the culture and not understanding a background. But at the end of it all, we're all humans with the same emotion. So respecting, compromising, understanding, forgiveness, kindness, all the ones that I mentioned are very important. Bring all that back in to the relationship and do it with intention to help your relationship grow better. You obviously got together because you loved each other. My suggestion to you is, after all that, if you're still feeling that you may have some problems, I suggest you seek professional help with either a consultant, a coach, or a psychiatrist who can help you to understand each other and get over this. You obviously want this relationship to work, otherwise you wouldn't have come to me. And I can't wait to see you all next week.